Welcome back to the What Do We Do podcast. On today's show, we have three-time Team USA Olympic swimmer and gold medal champion Peter Vanderkaay. PVK is in studio to talk about competing in sport as an Olympic swimmer and now competing in business as an entrepreneur. It's going to be a great show. Let's get to it.
Welcome to What Do We Do? A podcast discussing wealth management and financial planning featuring key leaders in our communities. Hosted by founder and CEO of Great Lakes Wealth, Dewey Stephan. Tune in to hear how you can plan for and live your best life.
Welcome back to the What Do We Do podcast. This is season 3, episode 1. And as a reminder, the mission of the What Do We Do podcast is to provide information to help our community invest for success and be wealthy, healthy, and wise. And one way that we do this is by finding leaders in our community that have a story to tell, knowledge to share, and advice to give. And then we get them into our studio to talk to our community. And today's guest is a leader in so many ways. He's an Olympic, world, and collegiate champion. He's a motivational speaker. He's an entrepreneur. He's actually also a YouTube celebrity. He's a son. He's a brother. He's a husband. And most recently, he's a father. He's a mentor and a friend. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm so excited to welcome to the show Peter Vanderkaay. Peter, welcome to the What Do We Do podcast.
Thanks for having me, Dewey.
You bet. Now, the first question I'm going to ask Peter is it Peter, Pete, or PVK?
I go by either or, not particular. So whatever some people call me Pete, some say Peter. I respond to all.
All right. Well, I'm going to call you Olympic champion. I'm going to call you family man. I'm going to call you the big dog today. Does that sound all right?
Sounds good.
Okay. Well, with that, I'm going to actually read your bio because our listeners and our viewers out there may not know all about you. And I want to make sure that they do because it's so impressive. I'm just amazed and I'm just happy to share it with everybody. Okay. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, Peter Vanderkaay, a.k.a. PVK, is one of the most decorated U.S. swimmers of the past 20 years. Pete is a 3-time Team USA Olympian. PVK first competed in 2004 in Athens, Greece, where he won the gold medal in the 4x200 freestyle relay. Then, 4 years later, in 2008 in Beijing, China, PVK won another gold medal in the 4x200 freestyle relay, and he set a world record with his teammates at that event. Also, Peter, you won an individual bronze medal in the 200-meter freestyle. Do you remember that?
I do.
Of course you do. Next up was London, England for the 2012 Summer Olympics, where Pete was co-captain of the men's Olympic swim team, and you won your 4th medal, another individual bronze, this time in the 400-meter freestyle. Is this correct?
That's all correct.
Love it. And if that's not enough, ladies and gentlemen, Peter is also one of the most accomplished collegiate swimmers of our day, where he swam for and is a graduate of the University of Michigan. Go Blue.
Go Blue.
Yeah, baby. Peter is also a 5-time NCAA champion, 10-time Big Ten champion, Big Ten Swimmer of the Year in 2004, 2005, and 2006, and an All-American all 4 years in Michigan. In your senior year, 2006, you were named University of Michigan Male Athlete of the Year and Big Ten Male Athlete of the Year. Pete also holds an American swimming record and was at one time a world record holder, as I mentioned earlier. Pete, I'm so excited to have you here. Thanks again for joining us.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Listen, we're going to start in the beginning, okay? That's when you were a little tadpole, a little guppy. This is how we start when we're swimming. Do you understand this?
Oh, yeah. I remember.
So to get us off and get us going, just talk about what age did you find the pool and kind of just talk about the early years of Peter and swimming and everything else.
Sure. So I started swimming at a young age. My parents swam high school, a little bit in college. My dad swam at Albion. And I have 3 brothers, 1 older and 2 younger. And my older brother wanted to start the swim team. So being the younger brother, I said, sure, I'll do that too. And I was 7 years old. It was just a summer club team, just a couple months out of the year. And I wasn't very good. I was able to make the team, which all you had to do was swim one length of the pool. And but what I learned all the strokes that summer, had a good time, met friends on the team, and my friends were a lot faster than I was, and it's because they swam year-round. So my brother and I got into year-round training at the Oakland Live Wires up in Rochester where we grew up, and kind of went from there. So there were a number of years I was not, anyone looked at and said, that guy's going to go to the Olympics one day. It wasn't until later in my career.
So then you get to the University of Michigan, or maybe even say right before that, you have 3 brothers, as you mentioned. Was it 1 older and 2 younger?
Correct.
And they all swam as well. And we'll let the cat out of the bag that they all swam at the U.S. trials in their careers as well, right?
Yep.
So as you're that youth, you're still competing and getting better, like you said, in high school and as a late bloomer. But you've got an older brother who's kind of maybe already there, and you have some behind you. So, how was it, ultimately competing at that high school and getting ready, and then ultimately, like, how did you choose to go to U of M? How did you, find your way to Ann Arbor?
Yeah, so actually both my parents went to Michigan, and so it kind of ran in the family. My brother Christian looked at Michigan and Harvard. He ended up going to Michigan. I knew it was going to be a great possible option for me. Great swimming program, a lot of legacy of putting people on the Olympic team and winning medals, breaking records, and a legendary coach there that recruited me. I looked at University of Florida and University of Georgia. I felt like Michigan was the best overall fit for me personally, and being from the area, it was something I just couldn't pass up to swim for John Urbanchek. So I ultimately followed my brother to U of M and had a great experience there.
Okay, so he went to Michigan as well.
Yep, all 4 of us did.
Oh, right on. Go Blue 4 times.
Yeah, we're a Michigan family.
Okay, that's great.
Yeah, it's great.
Love that. So when you get to Ann Arbor, are you a big man on campus freshman year? Are you just another student making his way? We've had other guests on this show that were standouts in college for different things, and they say that the experience is unique. I think that I was also a student athlete, nowhere at the level you were at, but I know that, again, your practice, your academics, and just the regiment is a workload. But if someone knows who you are, you're getting special treatment. It's you're in that fishbowl, no pun intended. So how did it go, early on at U of M?
Yeah, so I think like any freshman year, there's always an adjustment period. You're kind of in a new system. So I just kind of took it in stride and said, I want to come in here and work as hard as I can. And there were certainly people that were a lot better than me when I first got there. They had Olympic gold medalists in the pool. So for me to go from training at, a high school level to swimming against the best in the world was a big adjustment. But I took it with a grain of salt, tried to get better every day, and found myself kind of competing with them. Maybe not every day, but some days I'd out-touch a guy who won a gold medal in the Olympics, and just kind of told me that, if I can keep doing that, I can maybe get to the Olympics myself. So it was just a taste of that success.
Were you one of those student athletes that had the eye of the tiger and win at all costs, and you would do whatever it takes, and even fight against your teammates at all costs? There's an individualism to it, and that intensity that has to be there. Or you can be I'm going to win, but I don't have to have others lose. That mentality. But again, it takes a unique individual to be at the highest level of any academic, work, career, athletic situation. So kind of how were you again around all these other athletes that had been there, done that?
Yeah, so you said it. I mean, swimming is a very individualistic sport. There's nobody that can go out there and do it for you. You're either going to do it or you're not. And what you do is on the scoreboard, and your time's up there. So there's no faking it in the sport that I did. But I always felt like being a team player, helping others, and I was fortunate to have a coach that really instilled that in me young, would help me be better. That team environment, even though it's an individual sport, if you have people supporting you and you feel that support, you're going to have a much better performance. And the same with your teammates. If you give them positive energy, good things are going to happen. It creates this wave of good things. So, I always looked at it as, whatever I can do to help the team, and help my teammates is going to help all of us.
Love that. And then talk about your coaches. So again, it's an individual sport, but you're part of a team. And we're going to talk on this more when we get to the Olympic journey. But with coaches, mentors, whoever you surround yourself with that lift you up, encourage you, and or again, coach and teach. So you have had several living legends, around you. So maybe talk about the importance of your team and the coach.
Yeah, so my coach growing up was Jeff Cooper from the Oakland Livewires, and just a really great coach, cared a lot about his athletes. Very lucky and blessed to have, kind of grown up swimming for him, and he prepared me very well for college and beyond. John Urbanchik was the coach at Michigan when I was recruited. Legendary coach. He'd been on, decades of Olympic teams and had numerous Olympic medalists and world record holders over the years, and he retired after my sophomore year. He kind of stayed on as a volunteer assistant, so he was there most of the time. But Michael Phelps came in, and Bob Bowman was his coach, was hired to replace John, and they were there for 4 years. I swam at Michigan through that period, and then Mike Bottom, who's the current coach, I swam for him for 2.5 years at U of M. So I was almost at U of M for almost 10 years.
Right. So you go to U of M in 2002?
2002.
And so you're swimming and you're doing well. You were freshman, Big Ten freshman of the year, that sort of thing. But then the Olympics are in 2004. So let's go right into 2004. So you're at the University of Michigan and you're doing your things there. But now all of a sudden there's the Olympic trials and you're kind of going and trying to get on Team USA for 2004. Will you just walk us through kind of your memories of that?
Yeah, so I knew kind of going into that summer that I would have a shot to make the Olympic team. I was by no means a lock, but there were a couple events I had a shot to make the team, and I wasn't, banking on it. No one in my family was banking on it, and I just went out there and ended up making it. I got third in the 200 free, which got me a spot on the relay. I was also third in the 400, so I missed going in the 400 by one spot, which was, third at Olympic trials is not where you want to be.
So I thought you got three people on the team.
Well, only two.
Only
swimming.
two. Okay.
Yeah. So
that's a raw deal. Okay.
Yeah. Sometimes you can be the third best person in the world and not be at the Olympics. So
right.
It just shakes out that way. But that's how the sport unfolds sometimes. So
I don't know if you know this, but there are some athletes that they go to a new country so they can swim on that or be on that country's team.
I know some of those people.
Yeah, so we're not shaking them down. There's nothing wrong with that. Hey, do what you got to do to get there. But again, we appreciate you staying true to US of A. Here we go.
Of course. So went to trials, swam pretty good, got third in the 200, and I'm off to Athens. They kind of take you right away, and it was just a whirlwind experience and something I'll never forget. I had a great time. We ended up winning the gold medal in a very close race against Australia. Winning by, I think, 13/100ths of a second and upsetting them, actually. So
yeah, they were the favorite to win, right?
Yep. They had the world record holder anchoring their relay, and it hadn't lost that relay in like 7 years. And Michael Phelps, Ryan Lochte, myself, and Cleet Keller were the kind of the young guns from Team USA, and upset them and held on to that event for a number of years after.
So that was pretty solid, right? And then so you go to the Olympics. That's amazing. And then you come back to Ann Arbor. And you got a gold medal, and you're back on campus. Is Michael Phelps swimming in Ann Arbor in 2005?
He's just kind of getting back. He took a little time off because he wasn't in school at the time. As a professional, he never swam for U of M. He trained with us, but because he took professional money, he lost his eligibility during that era. So he showed up later in the fall, and we started training, getting ready for the next quad. Really, I mean, there's worlds and other events in between there, but, he knew he was going to go on to 2008 Beijing and try and win some more medals. So that was kind of in the distance, but we all started training together and trained really, really hard. It was a grind, but it was a lot of fun and just trying to get better every day.
Do you, at that time, swim year round? Because, again, whether you're swimming for the University of Michigan or you're preparing for Worlds or you've got some other, again, something going on somewhere, or is there downtime, a couple months here to rest and recoup?
Not really. I think the most I took off during that period was maybe 2 weeks out of the year. A week in the spring, maybe, or a week in the fall. Just kind of kept grinding and trying to get better. I there's maybe some value in taking some time off, but I always felt like if I'm sitting around, I'm not getting better. So I just wanted to keep trying to do things different, do things better, and get faster.
And then you go to 2008 Olympic trials again. So now you've graduated from U of M. And so between 2006 and 2008, you go to, I'm just guessing, Colorado Springs to the Olympic training facility and just set up shop there for 2 years and just lift weights every day. And probably not.
We didn't go there that long. We did go there a number of times. I think the most time I spent there was like 24 days in a row. And then we go off to a competition or something. But it was a lot of work. And then going into trials, this time around, it was a little bit different experience. I'm on the professional side of the sport now, much different than the collegiate side. You're trying to get sponsors and make money that way. So there's a whole business aspect of it. But I was also more of a favorite. I had gotten better over the last 4 years, and it was more of the target on my back than trying to make the team. So it was a little bit different feeling.
Gotcha. And now we're going to talk about the business of sport, and you're probably familiar now. It's name, image, likeness, NIL.
Right.
That changes the game. But back then, certainly sponsorships. And I think the goal was to be on the Wheaties box. You know what I mean? And so you get to 2008 in Beijing, China. So walk us through, your memories of that.
Yeah, so I made that Olympics in the 200 free, the relay, the 400 free, and the 1500 free. So I had I swam almost every day at the Olympics. I think there was a day or two where I was off. So it was a much more of a grind from the workload perspective of, having to juggle all those events, which was fun. I ended up getting fourth in the 400, so I just missed a medal. Again, the 400 seemed like the event I was just missing stuff, but got the bronze in the 200. We won the relay again. This time it wasn't close. We kind of smoked everybody. And then I think I got 11th in the 1500. So not the best swim at the end there, but it was a decent time. Just didn't get into the finals.
And as you're traveling the world, again, representing Team USA, we'll talk about it when you get to 2012 in London, England. There's got to be the pressure of representing your country, the pressure of representing yourself, your internal pressures, the pressures of those around you. You don't want to let your family down. You don't want to let these coaches down. So we'll talk about that after we talk about London, England. So that's 2012. So what did you do basically between 2008 and 2012? You're fired up because you've got another gold medal. You medaled, got the bronze in individual event. You're maybe a little salty about how you swam that last race or something, but you're still stoked. You're still like, somewhat of a celebrity here in America. And then you got 4 years just to go around and like party. Right? That's how it goes, right?
Yeah, so I coming back from Beijing, I took a little bit more time off. I took a month off and kind of decided what I wanted to do. I wasn't, 100% sure I was going to go another 4 years, but I kind of felt deep down I wanted to give it one more shot and see if I could do it and keep getting better and try and win some more. So ended up get back in the pool, training, having a pretty good 4 years there. And then I didn't have the best trials in 2012. I think I trained so hard I hadn't rested by the time I got to the Olympic trials, and I made the team in the 400 free, but I missed the 200 free, and I think that was just a kind of a calculation error on my part, but still went out to
like a training calculation.
Yeah, I don't think I rested enough. So in swimming, you taper, you do all this block of training, and then you taper, and tapers where you kind of come around. It's like digging a hole and then climbing out of it, and I just hadn't climbed out of that hole 100% yet, and it's just a timing thing. It's hard to time it correctly sometimes, and ended up making the team anyway and going to London, winning bronze medal in the 400 free. Had a great time. It was maybe probably my favorite games. It was just a really well-run, athlete-centric games, and I don't have anything to complain about.
I'm going to tell you were co-captain of that team, so that might have been pretty cool. And you may have been I bet you were a little disappointed in yourself for not qualifying to swim the 200.
Yeah, I wish I could have been on that relay, but, everything works out the way it works out. I can't go back and change it now, so I looked at it at the time.
How did they do? How did that relay team do?
They won gold.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, I mean, that was the goal. We want Team USA to win gold. So,
Well, that's a great segue. We're going to talk about that. You said it was your favorite games, and in the intro, I said that you are a YouTube celebrity. Okay, well, then that 2012 Olympics in London, England, for those that are watching. And by the way, we are over 1 million TikToks of our podcast. Do you believe that? Can I get a booyah? Yeah, we have 1 million TikToks. We have close to 50,000 downloads. So we're asking everyone out there. This is season 3, episode 1, to please download, share. We absolutely need you to subscribe. The only way that we can get more and more of an audience and have it pushed out by YouTube is by getting subscribers. So please share, subscribe, download, leave a comment, give us a like. And with that, I think you'll know something about that, because in 2012, there was this song by Carly Rae Jepsen called Call Me Maybe. Have you heard of the song?
I have.
Okay, and one of the female swimmers on Team USA Swimming, if I'm not mistaken, did a little impromptu, video choreograph that you guys all and gals all knew about, and then they just threw it out there like right around the Olympics, and I remembered it was so amazing, so awesome. Do you remember that video?
I do. I remember Kathleen Hersey, who was on the team, said, "I'm putting this video together. Can you, do a little clip here and there?" And I've never been like the most social media active person. And she did it all and put it together, and it ended up blowing up, and everybody from home was laughing and calling me about it. It was fun. It was a great thing for the team. We had a lot of fun doing it.
I think it was great. It was like maybe it was one of the original TikToks. It was just longer, one of the original individual videos. It was awesome.
Yeah, I think maybe we broke some ground there.
Yeah, it was super fun. And again, with the Olympics in general, that's the unity, the American spirit. And we talked about it just a few minutes ago. Let's talk about a little bit more about competing for yourself, for Peter Vanderkaay, competing for your family, the Vanderkays, competing as a U.S. swimmer and not a teammate for, the relays that you're on, but also, again, for Team USA and going into the Olympic Village and just having that those goosebumps. I get them, and I know all Americans do. I'm sure whatever country that you're from, when you watch those men and women representing your country on that world stage, there's got to be nothing like it. And so from 04 to 08 to 2012, maybe walk through, the first time you don't want to talk to anybody and they actually tell you to go sit in the corner and just be happy you're here. But after you do it a few times, you're comfortable, and you see this at the opening and closing ceremonies, particularly the closing ceremonies. All the athletes, they got their cameras out, they're taking videos. They don't want to ever forget this moment. So can you just talk about just what that's like and how you embraced it?
Yeah, it's really cool. I mean, it's kind of hard to put in words. It's a really big celebration of sport, and you certainly feel the support from back home. And as you said, representing myself, my family, my coaches, my teammates, my school, my state, my country, that's something I really took seriously and wanted to do everybody proud. So it was just a lot of fun. It can be daunting at times, but that's why we prepare so hard. You go out there and practice every day. And I had a coach that said it's just like, recording something on tape and pressing play. When you get to the competition, it's just pressing play. All the work's done. And you don't want to overthink it. Just go out there and try your best and race and have fun, and good things will happen.
There's got to be a difference, though, between an Olympics where you're swimming one event and it's just one day, and maybe there's there's the prelims and the finals. But whether you said in that 08 Olympics you're swimming every single day versus, again, you swim your event, or any athlete has their competition the first day, then they get the next 2 weeks to just sit back versus the one that has on the very last day. So again, as you get older, and this is, again, what the podcast is about too, is sharing with our community about evolution and about taking it next level. And sport is so important to business, and business and sport are so important to other aspects of life. But again, cliches out there: stop and smell the roses. Like you said, you can't really smell the roses the day before your big event, even though you're just going to press play. You better be focused in. Talk again. How does that happen, right? Because it's easier said than done.
Yeah, it's a fine line to walk, because you want to enjoy the moment, but you want to take it seriously too. So you're doing everything you can to be at your best, perform as best as you can, without blocking everything out completely. So it is challenging. It's easy to get caught up in the moment and just really kind of melt with excitement. But you're there to do a job, and you're there representing your country, and you want to try and win. So it is a balance you have to walk for sure.
Yeah, right on. Okay, and we're going to slowly segue into maybe life after swimming, but we're not done yet. We're not done yet, and we're not there yet. Okay, so I want to talk about like in the pool in general, preparing. Do you listen to music? I always see athletes, swimmers have their headsets on, and they're doing something's going on. Is you getting motivational speeches to you, or you're just singing or hearing music? And kind of just the preparation, for your event, and then after it's over, you're coming down and resetting, and how does that go?
Yes, I was a music guy. Leading up to the race, I like to just kind of keep to myself for a minute, put on some music, visualize my race, which I think is really important, because if you can't see yourself doing it, it's hard to do. You really have to see yourself winning and kind of going through that race. So I would play that race in my mind how I want it to go, and sometimes that was to music, and if I was too amped up, it wouldn't be the rock music. If it was you got to get amped up, I'd be listening to something heavy. So or something that just got me going. Whatever I felt like got my adrenaline going.
Fair enough. And then the next question about singing or music is on the podium. You were there 4 times. Were you one of those champions that looks at the flag as it's being raised and they're playing the Star Spangled Banner and sings the words? Or do you just sit there and stare at the flag and reflect? Or you're just don't even know what you're doing because you're in shock? Or are you got something else going on?
So in that moment, I think I was kind of singing lightly. My voice, not a great singer, so certainly not belting it out. That song's a hard one anyway. But one thing they always said was, if you're going to sing it, don't mess it up. Right. Get the words right. So I never had that problem, but everyone says in that moment, it's like a blur. You hardly remember it. And it's kind of like that for me too.
Okay. Fair enough. We're going to kind of slowly wrap up this part of the show with favorite racing memory from the Olympics.
So I think my favorite race from the Olympics is probably 2004, just because it was such a close, exciting race. We weren't supposed to win it, and we did by a small margin. So that was a race that, just going to the Olympics was such a dream come true. To win a gold medal too, and do it in such an exciting fashion was just incredible. It changed my life.
Right on. Okay, then we'll go the other way. So not just Olympics, but in your swimming career, biggest disappointment?
Oh, that's hard to pick. I've had a ton of disappointments, and I think...
Time out. You've had a ton of disappointments, but listen, I want to show to the viewers these 4 disappointments. Okay? So again, I know there is. Anyway, so didn't mean to interrupt you, but please, the biggest disappointment.
It's hard to pick just one. I've had bad races on the international level. I've had, races where I've been disqualified, not at the international level, but throughout my career. I mean, there's been a lot of finishes that were not gold, silver, or bronze. And I think when people watch the Olympics, I think we're born this way and we never lose. That's certainly not the case. I mean, everybody comes up the same way, and you lose a lot. And if you don't learn how to lose, you never know how to win, I think. So that's a really tough one. I don't know if I've ever been asked that before, but I think, maybe one of the trials where I got 3rd or just missed the team, or, getting 4th in Beijing in the 400 free, big disappointment, but I tried my best. I got to live with it.
That's an amazing attitude, because again, when you're at that level, like most of those athletes are angry. Like, again, they're disappointed. They don't care. It's to be honest, it's not about the country. It's not about teammates. Like, at that moment, you just want to flip a table and you just want to kick something, right? So,
it's certainly,
and maybe time has mellowed you out. I don't know how you were back then, but
yeah, I think I have a different perspective on it now. I can smile about those losses now a little bit easier.
A couple more questions about swimming. One would be, and I'm not a swimmer, okay, in the competitive sense. When there's a competition going on, or when your race is underway, there are people that are walking back and forth on the pool deck, and they're yelling. So A, what are they yelling? And B, can you hear them? Because your head is, at least one of your ears, if not both, are underwater.
Yeah, so depending on the volume and pitch of their voice, you can hear them. But those are coaches. They're trying to motivate athletes, and Especially in a freestyle event like mine, if you're turning to breathe, you can see somebody waving their arms and shaking a piece of paper at you and yelling. So they're trying to motivate swimmers and get a better performance out of them. So that certainly happened to me a lot of times.
Did it work? Does it work?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Fair enough.
You got to go see that coach after.
Fair enough. Okay. Because so I've got children and they play soccer. Okay. And one doesn't anymore, but the other two do. And they're on travel teams and they're getting older and it's competitive, but the parents on the sidelines are always just yelling at the kids, right? And the coach, and this is a competitive, very competitive soccer, where the coaches come over and say, listen, stop yelling at the kids because you don't even know what you're yelling. You're yelling to kick the ball and do this, and we don't want them doing that. Like, you don't know how to understand the organization, of the play we're putting together. And you're just saying, kick it, Johnny, kick it, Joey. And so you're not supposed to just yell at them. And obviously it's your coach yelling at you, but if he's just saying swim harder, swim, like that's what they say, kick the ball farther, I don't think it's going to help you. So it's got to be something more specific than that.
Yeah, I think in the team sports like a soccer, football, you got to be a little more strategic in your message. But in swimming or running, it's they're yelling at you to go, try harder, move faster.
Don't they know that's what you're trying? I get it. Okay, you said it
like
works.
A little pressure.
Yeah, you said it works. That's cool. All right, how about the technology of swimming? Back in the day, we're going to talk about a couple swimmers. Mark Spitz, this guy, Michael Phelps, yourself. Most swimmers back in the day had Speedos. And again, Speedo is kind of like Kleenex. It's actually a brand. So I don't even know if there's actually an official name for the swimsuit because Speedo is, probably a trademark of Speedo, right? And chapstick is lip balm and Kleenex is tissue. So anyway, but it went from the Speedo style bathing suit, if you know what I'm talking about, to it went to these full suits and then talk about just that, and the caps changed and different things. So what about the evolution of the sport in general, and kind of, I guess, to talk about that cupping computer in an interview you did recently, you talked about them analyzing your stroke underwater and stuff like that. So just talk about the evolution of swimming and the hundredths or thousandths of a second is what separates winners from second or third.
Yeah, so even in the time that I swam for 20 years, there was a lot of evolution in the technology, the science behind it, the training, the nutrition, all that stuff, and it's continued on after I really haven't competed in 10 years. It's gotten a lot better since I've been done. The suits, I think, are something people focused on because if you go back to decades and decades ago, guys were wearing like burlap, it's a heavy type of suit that it's all loose, and they figure you got to make this more hydrodynamic, so they go to the what you call the Speedo, the brief, which is like the smallest suit you can wear. And then they figured out that if you wear something more like bike shorts, the compression actually helps your muscles endure a little bit longer. And then with that technology became the body suits, and that whole era of the suits, and I'm probably getting in the weeds a little bit here, but in 2009, they had the last era of tech suits, and it was basically like rubber on your body. I mean, it was tight. It was hard to get on. It was like wearing a rubber canoe. And you had all these people breaking world records. Like, we went to a Worlds, and there was like 40 world records broken, which is unheard of. I mean, there'd usually be 5 a year, maybe. And so the organization that governed the whole world said, we got to tone this down because it's like tech doping. Right. And the suits became more expensive, so we didn't want to limit people or their performance because they couldn't afford a suit or didn't have access to a suit. And so now it's a little bit more stringent. It's on the men's side what looks like bike shorts. They call it a jammer. And then women's is about the same, down to your knee.
Okay, fair enough. But it is interesting, the evolution of technology, and then whether that's in the sport of golf or in swimming. You didn't think you could have that much technology in swimming, but apparently, like you said, with those suits and just the whole computer software diagnostics of your stroke and everything, it's pretty amazing.
Yeah, and now they have all the sensors you can wear and the wearables or whatever they call them. I mean, I remember when I first went to the Olympic Training Center, it was like a big deal to get underwater footage. Because all that stuff was pre-digital. It was all on tape. And so that was like a big game changer for looking at your technique. now anybody can do that with their phone, right?
Right.
It's crazy. So.
Well, what about doping? What about and when you were still a swimmer, an active swimmer for Team USA, there was a lot of doping and a lot of illegal substance to enhance. And nowadays, it's even cannabis and just the use of recreational drugs. And there was an Olympian who was kicked off the team for testing positive for cannabis. So, what are your thoughts on drugs in any sporting community, but swimming or anything else?
Yeah, so performance enhancing drugs are they're an issue. They're an issue in a lot of different sports. People have mixed opinions about them. I'm in the camp that I think they don't have a place in sports, and the reason being that sports, everyone wants to believe, is because you worked for it and you earned it, and not because you could afford a substance that made you better. And it's the haves and have-nots. Everyone likes to think it's a level playing field, and I think performance-enhancing drugs changes that in a way that it's not. Might be incredible to see something done that somebody does on drugs, but there's also another aspect that's what's the long-term health ramifications of taking something like that, especially in youth. So we don't want to send that message that it's a win at all cost. It's, let's go out there and try our best and work hard, and the winner is the winner.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And as you said, back to just wearing the suits, they decided to knock it off and to stop, the advancement of the suits. And it's the same thing, young people. So we're going to segue to young people and motivating them, young student athletes, those, whether it's swimming, baseball, basketball, football, whatever the sport is, they're all trying to impress their high school coach to not only start but excel, and then also to try to get into colleges and scholarships. And so again, back in the day, I think like Arnold Schwarzenegger and some other bodybuilders were taking steroids. Let's talk about, again, for the youth out there who want to be student athletes, not to do that. So let's talk about not doing that, but what it takes to succeed, the sacrifices, and understanding that it's not just show up and win.
Right. You have to put the time in, and you have to go through some things that are uncomfortable, and you have to make sacrifices, and that's a personal decision I think every athlete has to make. If it's worth it to them or not, you have to want it, and wanting it allows you to make those decisions or not. And that doesn't mean it's for everybody, but I think everybody's got to make that decision in their own skin. I think the great thing about sports, and today, it's probably always been this way, but I see it more and more, is people focus on the outcome and not the process. And focusing on the process, one, will make you better. It's the little things you do every day, but it's also a vehicle to teach us great life lessons, responsibility, success, doing those things. Everything I learned that I can apply to my business or relationships that I think holds any water, I could learn through swimming. It doesn't have to be swimming. It could be any sport. You work hard, and what you put in is what you get out, and be a good teammate and all that stuff. I think people lose sight of that as a vehicle to making good people in our society. And I think, we're always concerned about all the championships and the money and that sort of stuff. But if you really dial it back, sports it's a educational tool, and it's a lot of fun. It can be fun.
Yeah, it should be fun, but it's absolutely an educational tool, and it gives you the building blocks for life. Life is not fair, right? And there are winners and there are losers, and you have to know how to, again, we'll say a lot of cliches, but you have to be a good winner.
Yep.
You can't be a sore loser, but you need to learn how to accept loss and also learn how to accept winning. You have to understand that you'll get lucky some days, but it's also those who are the most prepared tend to have the most luck, right? Yeah. And so sacrifice versus talent. There are all kinds of different thoughts about, give me a hard worker with less talent versus give me the most talent who's not a hard worker. And we can try to push the lazy, talented one to be a hard worker. Where do you fall in that? And again, you're a new father. We'll talk about your family here in a minute. But where do you fall from? Again, your growing up obviously you said you didn't even have the talent for a while. You just had to work hard to find it. But in general, I'm on a quest, with this podcast and just in life to let people recognize that, it's a hard road to success, whatever it is that you want to be successful at. So for young people that are going into high school to be athletes, those are in college to be student athletes, those just getting out of school that want to do startups for business, those that want to, go buy a bunch of real estate and then have them as Airbnbs, just have whatever the success is. You don't just show up and, again, don't just get a medal. So talk about, again, dedication, grit, grind, sacrifice, and again, everything that goes along with that.
Yeah, so I think well said. I think the process is super important. And I had a coach tell me one time, win or lose, what did you learn? And I think you can learn a lot from failure, probably a lot more from failure than you can from winning. Because failure just means it's an opportunity to learn, right? So whether it's business or sports or relationships, taking a look and that constructive criticism of, what can I do better next time is going to make you a better person. It's going to make you a better competitor. It's going to make you a better, family member, friend, whatever it is. So I think that's super important.
Yeah, I agree. On that note, there's two schools of thought in terms of motivating those young athletes. One is, don't push them too hard and take the fun out of it, because then they'll burn out and they'll resent anybody involved, let's say parents, and then they'll throw in the towel and give up. Have you heard this?
Oh, yeah, I've seen it.
Okay, but then there's the other way, which is if you don't push hard enough, then the athlete who has some ability will have fun and will enjoy it, and at the local level, they will be a champion. They will win in the neighborhood of Rochester, but they go down the street and they get their butt kicked because they didn't really apply themselves. So what about the pushing too hard and then they burn out and fail and hate everything and they don't like it anymore or whatever. But then the other side, where if you don't push or again, push full tilt, and you know what? Maybe they won't like it. And maybe this is the Tiger Woods story, right? For the longest time, at least the legend is that his father pushed him so hard. Tiger didn't even like golf. Like, he was just so sick that he was just a robot for his dad. And right. But I think he's probably enjoying himself now, except for obviously all of the, again, life lessons that have been involved. So, you're a brand new dad. I've got 3, and I'm going to start mentoring you, outside of this podcast, because we have things we do together where it's a slippery slope. It's a tight wire to walk. But what are your thoughts, or where do you think it is in terms of molding and mentoring and having those student athletes, get to the pinnacle without going too far?
Yeah, so it's certainly a fine line, and I think a lot of that falls on the coach to decide when to push and when to pull. Parents can have some input, but I think if you have parents that want something more than their kid, it leads to a situation where, you talk about burnout, the kid's doing it for the wrong reasons. So I think you really have to walk that line. At a young age, in single-digit age, I don't think there's really much you can do that's going to change the trajectory in a positive way, training-wise, for an athlete that age. At least I should say that from my sport. Physiologically, you're not going to do any training that's going to really have an impact at that age. So it's about learning the fundamentals. It's about learning the sport, having fun, learning how to be a good teammate, learning how to be coachable, that sort of stuff. And then as they get older, it's up to the coach to decide, hey, I can pour it on this kid a little bit more, get them outside their comfort zone, because that's how you grow, right? If you're not being pushed, but you got to know when to do that.
Yeah, that's a fair fact. I will tell you another fast fact. I had the pleasure of meeting and having dinner with Janet Evans. Do you know who she is?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, and she was, I think, the youngest gold medal swimmer ever, or some female side or something, right? She was a phenom. She was like a 12-year-old or a 10-year-old or some kind of crazy young phenom. So she's the exception to that rule. And I know, but she did say she got burnt out because people, whether it was on the sponsorship side, to her coaches, to everyone in that world, they weren't necessarily using her, but they were pushing her to be, this non-child.
Right.
And so I don't know exactly now, her complete thoughts on it, but I do know that she said that she wasn't like very happily getting to the pool every morning for all those years as a pre-teen.
Yeah, I can only imagine how that felt.
Gymnasts are probably the same way, right?
Yeah, at that age when it's like, oh, wow, this feels like a job now. Everybody else is out there just having fun. I feel like this is a job. For me, that didn't come along until I was much more mature, so I didn't have to deal with that. I think it's a little bit more common in females because they develop earlier, and I've seen that Katie Ledecky, when she made the London team, was I think 13 or 14 years old. But she carried herself amazingly well at that age. I was super impressed with her, and she's been impressive since. But that's hard. That's a hard line to walk. So you really have to have a coach that has a knack for seeing when to push and pull.
And some other countries, again, are known for it. I can't say they do it, but they're known for, again, raising athletes almost to be soldiers. And that, again, they must compete, or else they are, put into some island somewhere or to some small town, never to be heard from again. And that's kind of a shame, but that's different cultures and different things. But right. All right. Well, that's a great segue. You said it's a job. It's not supposed to be a job. It should be fun, but it should be a job, and you should get paid. Okay, so whether it's sponsorships or Wheaties boxes, and certainly, the 4 years in between, we've seen athletes documented that they go work at Home Depot. They actually just spend time, serving ice cream at Dairy Queen or whatever the case is. But for you, now that the Olympics are over, it's almost been, what has it been, 10 years?
10 years.
10 years. So you've had to grow up, my friend. You've had to enter the big, bad world of business, okay? And you got married not too long ago. How long have you been married?
Almost 2 years.
Heck yeah, Morgan. Yep. By the way, she's a babe. Good job there.
Thank you.
And then you just had your first child, Cliff. He's like brand new. The stork just delivered this dude.
Yeah, he's pretty fresh. He'll be 6 weeks in a couple days here. So everyone's doing good. We're having fun. If I look tired, it's because he's an early morning guy. He'll be good at morning practice in the pool if he's a swimmer.
Okay. All right. Well, again, as an ex-student athlete, certainly nowhere near an Olympian, I actually didn't push my children to go into the sports that I excelled at and kind of just let them find their own way. And I actually always am wondering if I should have. Golf was kind of my game, and they want to play it now a little bit, but I'd never really kind of just kept throwing golf clubs in their hands. And they're just, I want them to be amazing human beings first. That's the most important, and find their way and have that fun, as we talked about. I want to talk about a segment that we call What Peter Do. Okay? And I don't even know what to say. It's either What Peter Do, it's What Pete Do, or it's What PVK Do. Okay? And this is a segment of the show where instead of what do we do, this is what you would do. And this is what you would tell your 18-year-old self or other 18-year-olds today to live their best life, to make a change, and something that you wish you had either done or that you knew about back then.
Yeah, so I mean, there's a lot of things that come to mind, but I think looking back, advice that's really good is find your passion, work towards that. Don't let anybody else direct you in a direction that you don't want to go. Find your passion, work, and everything works out. But also, it's okay to be uncomfortable. Get comfortable being uncomfortable. Because that's the only way. If you're not pushing yourself, you're not growing, and there's no other way to do it, in my opinion. So it's okay to fail. We talked about failure. I think that's really important because you learn from it, and that would be my advice to my younger self.
I like that. Very well said. And I have always said, when you fail, so not if you fail, but when you fail, evaluate why, make a change, and try again.
Yeah.
Fair enough?
Absolutely.
Okay. So as you have moved on from the sporting world, officially, you are now in the business world. And so let's talk about, again, what you said in terms of, going after it and not giving up and all of that. So let's talk about your 9 to 5 briefly. Tell the audience what you do 9 to 5 to put some bread on the table, a little, broccoli on the plate. And then let's talk about this latest venture that I'm very excited that you and your family are in.
Yeah, so 9 to 5, I work for Signature Associates in commercial real estate brokerage office in Southfield here. I've been doing that for almost 8 years now, and it's been fantastic. And a lot of athletes end up in this business because it's one of those businesses where you're kind of running your own business what you put in is what you get out. So it's exactly how my swimming career was, just a little bit different, right? I'm not in the pool. I'm drinking a cup of coffee instead of diving in a cold pool in the morning. So it's not too bad.
Do you take a cold shower just because, you know what, I'm just so used to being cold? Like, do you just like turn it on as cold as you can and get in the shower?
Not too often.
Okay,
not
good.
Too
All
often.
right.
But maybe I should more as I talk about being uncomfortable, right?
Right.
But so that's my 9 to 5. Love it. Love the company I'm with. The new venture is I'm a partner in a swim school that just opened in Sterling Heights called Big Blue Swim School. And my roommate in college actually started the company in Chicago. They've since opened a number of locations nationwide, and he's franchising them now. So me and my brother and 2 former teammates from Oakland Livewires are partners in that, along with the franchisee out of Chicago. And it's been great. We always wanted to get back involved in the sport in some way, and we're all passionate about just being water safe. I mean, you don't have to go to the Olympics to love swimming. Going to the beach on a warm summer day in Michigan is just fine.
But you should know how to swim.
Should know how to swim.
Right? Everyone should know how to throw a football. Everyone should know how to swing a tennis racket. Everyone should know how to swim. And that's for a safety perspective, but it's also a pretty fun sport, even if it's just in a pool.
Right. Just recreationally, boating, swimming. We look at it as, this shouldn't be a privilege. It should be an opportunity everyone has, especially in our Great Lakes state. So, we're excited about kids coming through that program and getting more kids in our community to learn to swim.
Now, are you an active investor there? Meaning, are you working there, and are you just an equity investor, or what's the status now? But also, I always like to tell our viewers and our listeners that the average millionaire has 7 streams of income. And Peter, you're not average. I don't think I'm average. I might be below average, but either way, we strive to be above average. So we actually encourage our clients and anybody we're trying to talk to about money to get and try for 11 streams of income. So 7 is average. No one wants to be a perfect 10. We want to be a perfect 11. So we always use the number 11. I don't know if you knew that. So with that, this would be hopefully, if not now, down the road, a second stream of income. I don't need to know how many you have going all together, but with this one, what are you doing with it to help our audience understand, where they are in their their goals and dreams of they're building their empire, their portfolio, and then what are your goals and dreams after this is settled?
Yes, I'm just an equity investor in Big Blue. I'd love to be more involved with the teaching side, but I just can't carve it out on a day-to-day basis with my 9 to 5. So maybe down the road I'll have some more time to get involved in the pool. But for that, just equity. Like you said, streams of income. I'm always trying to invest and save. It's just my mentality. I think one of my rules is that I think is really important is don't invest in what you don't know. And I don't know if you guys tell your clients that, but that's from learning from experience. The best thing I can do is invest in the things that I understand and I know, and those work out a lot better than the ones I don't.
There's a quote, and I don't know if it's Warren Buffett who has actually kind of said that, don't invest in things you don't know. So that could be something that you've stolen from the Oracle of Omaha. Have you heard of this guy?
It sounds like something he would say. If you don't understand it, don't invest in it. Right?
Yeah, and he actually has a great quote out there for swimming. So I'm going to throw this at you, Peter. Warren Buffett is quoted as saying, "Only when the tide goes out do you discover who's been swimming naked."
Yeah.
Have you heard of this?
I have heard that before.
Yeah,
I didn't know he said it.
Yes, and he said it. And again, it goes for investing and understanding what your investments are. Or again, the message there is that when things are just going along, you can kind of fake it. But when when the rubber hits the road, as they say, another cliche, you'll see who's prepared and who's not. And so in that case, when it comes to companies and earnings and which ones will survive, which ones are prepared for economic situations of turbulence, that's when you'll see who's got swim trunks on.
Right.
What did you call it? What did you call it? The brief. Right. Who's got a brief and who's naked? There's a big difference. I think that's great. Well, again, I appreciate you so much for coming on. I'd like to ask you, with these medals, which one is the most near and dear to you, if any? And then also, I want to know if you've had them appraised. I want to know where they stay. And if you're done with them, I'm more than happy to hold them for you for a while.
Well, yeah, anytime you want to borrow them, just give me a call. So I don't have one that's a favorite. They all kind of tell a different story for me that I'm super proud of and different memories. We have the gold from Athens, the gold from Beijing, the bronze from Beijing, and the bronze from London. It's funny because when I won this, I was 20 years old, and my parents said, like, what's it worth? Do we get it insured? We have to keep it, heavily locked up. What, we just don't know. And so they called the Olympic Committee and asked, and they said, well, it's actually only worth about $400 material value.
Come on.
Yeah. So they're like, well, it's not really worth insuring for that amount. And it's funny because when I won the bronze, somehow I found out what the bronze is worth in material value is like $1.99.
Come on.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me right now?
Yeah, it's scrap metal.
Well, then I'll give you $2. I'll give you with inflation. I'll give you $5 and I'll just take it. No, just kidding.
I mean, the value for me is in
priceless.
What they represent.
That's priceless.
And, the memories and that stuff. I mean, you can see they're all dinged up from people holding them, and they're fun to share.
Yeah, that's awesome. And you're an awesome dude. I wish you nothing but blessings down the road. You've worked hard. We, spend time together where you get to play hard and in a positive way. But life is a journey that you have to work hard to have success, and nothing comes easy. And if it does, then you better just embrace that and recognize that that's the exception, not the rule. Anything else you'd like to say to our viewers and our listeners before we wrap up today?
Oh, I think we covered it. Thanks for having me.
My man, this is season 3 of our podcast, What Do We Do? This is episode 1. And I ask everyone again to download, share, subscribe, give us a like, give us a comment. Tell Peter whether you prefer Pete, or PVK, and tell him which one of these medals, you would like to borrow for the weekend to have as a prop at your next party. Pete, with that, again, I want to thank you again. Can I get a big booyah? Thank you so much for coming out. And with that, as we always say, this is season 3, episode 1, and we're just getting started.
Booyah.
The opinions expressed in this program are for general information purposes only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual or any specific security. It's only intended to provide education about the financial industry. To determine which investments may be appropriate for you, consult your financial advisor prior to investing. Any past performance discussed during this program is no guarantee of future results. Any indices referenced for comparison are unmanaged and cannot be invested into directly. As always, please remember investing involves risks and possible loss of principal capital. Please seek advice from a licensed professional.